In this video, we're going to explain a supply air reset strategy using a WebLink graph, like the one we see here on the screen. In this case, we're doing a supply air reset for heating, and the basic principle is as the return air coming back from the conditioned space gets warmer, you want to do less heating or conditioning of the supply air because the space is already pretty warm. So if your return air is up here at the maximum, say 72 degrees, then you don't need to heat the air much beyond 80 degrees to provide comfortable air into the space. However, if your return air is down here at 60 degrees, then you want to supply 120 degree air, try to warm that space up reasonably fast. So depending on where this return air temp goes, we'll see how the supply air temp is adjusted by the control system to match the conditions. So we'll start out by grabbing a copy of our weather demo project, which is available on the download site referenced in your training documentation. So we can go ahead and click on there, and we're going to grab first the function group that we'll use in Expert. So we'll go ahead and put that in our downloads folder. And then in Expert, we'll go ahead and import the function group. So import group, supply air reset example. Yep. So we'll check here where it went. We actually want it on supply util number 2 and PID number 2 and number 3. Actually got imported, looks like backwards. We wanted 2 on to be heating and 3 to be cooling, but we'll make that adjustment on the screen. Let's go ahead and fire up our WebLink page and see if those data points are now visible. And we can see that, in fact, the heating graph is picking up data from the cooling as we suspected, and the cooling graph is going to be picking up data from the heating. So we'll go ahead and change the indices on the page. So 3 is our index for heating. So we'll change all our indexes to reference number 3. And our data points as well. Once we've done that, we'll fire up the page again in console mode. Now I might have to save it first. There we go. Now we're picking up the data that we expect for a heating situation. So we'll go ahead and input the raw value for a 65 degree temperature. And we'll look and see why our temperature is not overwriting. If we did it in the back end, let's check our heating reset. It's picking up the input from number 10. So we'll go here into number 10. We'll say the supply air is coming back at 6,500. We'll go back to our heating reset, and we'll see that, in fact, the supply air temperature is now at 103, which is more what we expect. See if we can adjust it from here. There we go. So now once we've got our data points connected, we can change the return air temp and watch it how it changes the reset value. As a further exercise, we're going to add some CSS to change the text size on the page here. We could go into WebLink and manually change those from 12 point to 11 point, but for educational purposes we're going to go ahead and use a style sheet so we don't have to visit each of them individually. We'll use a little trick in console mode first to find out what we need to edit. So right click, view source, opens the debugger. We go to the DOM Explorer, pick the arrow object, and we point to something that we want to change. And we can see here that's the cell. It's a table cell in a table row. So if we change the font size for all table cells, we'll cover all 6 of these values at once. We're going to use a different editor than JS Fiddle in this exercise. It's Visual Studio 2015 Community Edition. It's a free download from Microsoft, and it has some nice text editing tools. I've got the dark theme here, you can see. I've got my CSS already created. In this case, I'm telling it in table headers and table cells to use a 12 pixel font size. You can download this example from the same downloads page with our training materials, resetdemo.css, or you can type it in by hand. And in our WebLink page, we're going to go ahead and reference that style sheet using our built-in global function. And then when we start the page, we can see the table cells have used the new CSS style, and now they're a little more appropriately sized.